people can sometimes say, oh, the ADHDer is putting on a mask, or they're being fake, or they're not being honest. But you're really in that state of just being so exhausted from constantly trying to have a connection. Hello, truth tellers. Welcome back to the ADHD Scapegoat podcast. I'm Angie.
I'm Jeremy. And today we're going to discuss why honesty is such a defining trait for ADHDers, plus the added layer of being the family scapegoat and how truth-telling gets twisted against you.
Yeah.
Against you.
And I want to go through this with 5 different situations where truth and honesty come into play for the ADHD scapegoat. The first one is the concept of honesty versus being too honest. So ADHD, impulsivity, and lack of filter, how this plays out is, being blunt or saying something without fully thinking it through. And our brains have so many nonstop running thoughts that we can't control or stop or filter through. So we just blurt it out without making it soft or approachable or, just with a nuance to it that fits the person we're talking to necessarily.
You're not sugarcoating things.
Not sugarcoating it, but it's also just a little, whoa, where'd that come from?
Yeah.
Because, again,
you're just trying to get the thought out of
We're just trying to get the thought out, and maybe you're excited about it, so it comes off like you're mad, or maybe you're, or maybe like you're thinking of a question in your head already as other words were coming out of your mouth. So the words coming out of your mouth come out as a question, but you were actually making a statement. Like that happens more often than I love. And so with that, it makes our words not align with our intentions of what we were trying to say. And the difference between honesty and being perceived as rude or inappropriate, this is where you go back to intention. And we talk about this when we're looking at, especially when kids are responding in a certain way, intention matters. So kids don't have natural malicious intent. Adults can. And so you actually need to look at the intention of this interaction. So when it comes to an ADHDer who's impulsively saying something honest without thinking it through, that's not a malicious act. Toxic people who don't want to hear the truth may deem it as rude or inappropriate because your raw honesty is something they can't do. And toxic people view you communicating your feelings as a response to the poor ways they treat you. You're talking back or you're being rude because they don't want to hear it. That's it. How honesty can make people uncomfortable in these toxic dynamics is because the truth that you're saying, this is why they become offended by it, it threatens the narcissist. So they act as if it's an attack because they actually feel like it's an attack on them. They're living all of these lies. There's so many lies that they create around them to enable their behavior, that you calling something out or stating the truth or asking a question is rude, or they're just uncomfortable with it. They lash out, right?
And to be fair, it is an attack on them because they've built their identity on lies. However,
you're not attacking them.
They then label that as rude
Right.
or whatever. You're not attacking
You're
attacking the lies, not the person.
Yeah. They go straight into victim mode.
But there's no separation from the lie and them and their identity.
Right.
So
It
feels like a personal attack, but really you're just attacking the lie.
They have to embody the lie in order for them to believe it.
Right.
And live it. So another component we want to talk about is what is trust and isn't it earned, right? Because I think a lot of people have a hard time actually stepping back and understanding what trust means to them. So the struggle of trusting when you've been scapegoated your whole life and gaslit, trusting anyone was hard for me for a long time. Like, I went through believing that I truly couldn't trust anyone because those people in my family of origin had betrayed me. They'd always betrayed me. I kind of couldn't help this like part of my ADHD justice sensitivity and my longing for connection. I couldn't help but wear my heart on my sleeve and show my emotions on my face, right? So that opened me up for a lot of hurt a bunch of times. But I always had this inner need to trust someone and be close and connected. So I kept trying, but I definitely struggled with that. I always kind of assumed, even when I was trying to build trust or build a connection, in the back of my mind was, can I really trust this person, or are they going to betray me? And how trust works for ADHDers is many of us will take people at face value and expect them to do the same. Like, when we're speaking authentically and honestly and genuinely trying to connect, we assume that the other person is doing the same. And I think it's hard to believe a lot of times when you have good intentions and you want, like, the whole reason you're interacting with this person, love, connection, friendship, whatever the relationship is, and you think, the way I've always thought is, why wouldn't everyone else want that too? Because, those are good things to want, and it would have a positive impact on our daily lives, mine and yours, right? So isn't everyone striving for that? And it's hard to believe that other people don't want that.
We have a lot of discussions like that with our boys, especially Wyatt because he's older, but just that sense of, why wouldn't everyone want the best? Why wouldn't everyone be kind? But also that trust of, well, you said you were going to do this thing at this time, so why aren't we doing it right now?
Right. And I think when trust is manipulated through, family scapegoating, abuse, gaslighting, any toxic relationship, is when they know you're honest and you expect trust in return, these abusive people will use it against you. So this is kind of what you're alluding to here. So, for example, the way narcissists move the goalposts to get you to meet their expectations or needs, they know you will keep your word, and whatever they say, here's the goal, this is the goal line, they know that you'll keep your word and you'll work toward it. And they make a deal and, say something as simple as, this is just an example, but this weekend we can go to the amusement park. We're going to go to the amusement park. So you get excited and you're looking forward to it. Then the weekend comes and you can tell that they're not getting ready for going to the amusement park. They're cleaning the garage and haven't mentioned it. And we usually, patterns, we usually leave around this time because we want to get there when it opens and it's this far away and, all the logistical things. So you ask them about it and they say, what are you talking about? I said, if I get this done, then we would go. And you respond with, you never said that. Just honestly, that didn't happen. And they say that you don't remember because you never listen. But they did say that, and that you're ungrateful and needy for expecting to go on this trip that costs money and takes out, removes our whole, Saturday. But you didn't expect it. They offered it up as a plan, and you began to get excited about it. You did everything you could to show you deserved to go, because that's what you need to do as the family scapegoat, is you need to earn all of your love or anything that you get. So you need to show, and that's part of the reason why they say that in advance. They set the goalposts because they want you to earn the goal. They want you to show them and, bow to them until you get that goal. That's another reason why we never had, you're grounded for 2 weeks, or you're grounded for a week, or you're grounded, it was grounded until further notice. Always. That is insane. Anyway, I digress. So you did everything you could to show that you deserve to go. And I would do things to make the trip easier. I would set us up for success. I would try to make it easier by helping to do things that were not a child's responsibility at all. But then they throw it in your face that you're greedy or ungrateful, or now you're whining to them about a situation that you created in your head, according to them. And you're just completely confused.
Yeah, that's very jarring.
And you go, huh? And then here's the kicker. This is where, and I've told this story within our family as a cool, positive thing my dad did. But he would also say that we were going to a family reunion, which was, I'm assuming, very close in distance from this amusement park, from where we lived. Would say we were going to this family reunion and we were dreading it because it's all adults. There were rarely any kids there, and it was just boring. Everyone would just picnic and bring their foods, but there wasn't anything to do. We played in this creek with clay, and we made the best of it when we had to go, but it was no, I don't want to go. And so he would say that that's what we were doing, and so we packed a cooler with stuff as if we were taking food, just in case we didn't like the food that people brought and all this. And then all of a sudden we would see the Ferris wheel and we would be like, oh, are we going to the amusement park? And then it would be oh my God, Dad, you're the best. And so the whole time you're dreading this thing, and then, he surprised you with this. But then the whole time, because he did this and he did this wonderful surprise thing, if you complained about a single thing, if you were hot, if you were thirsty, if you were hungry, if you needed to go to the bathroom, anything that you complained about that day was you were ungrateful. I did this wonderful thing that was manipulated. And now that you're here, I had no control where we were going. I was a kid. But now that you're here, you have zero needs.
And you're just talking about basic human needs of having to go to the bathroom, getting
being
a drink
thirsty,
of water.
yes.
Yeah.
And if you're hungry, or if hey, we never come to the amusement park, we never get to spend money, can I get, a candy apple or something? I was obsessed with candy, caramel apples, not candy.
Well, okay.
I don't
maybe the caramel apples.
Yeah,
but
caramel apples. Oh God, I always wanted one. But you could never, no, we didn't buy food. Food is in the cooler. We have peanut butter and jelly in the cooler, and we're going at this time and only at this time. And if you need water, you're going to have to hold, it's just, so it made it this. Oh, yes, we got to go to this thing, but there were so many rules and so many expectations, and you weren't allowed to have any needs. You needed to shove them down.
It sucked all of the fun
out
of the surprise, yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so next scenario is believing in someone versus believing someone. And this is a big one. We've talked about it a lot recently. So the distinction between supporting someone and blindly trusting someone's words. And this has always been baffling to me, even when I was a kid, but especially in our current, my current situation with my family of origin. But maybe that's where my ADHD gift of a solid intuition plays a role, but supporting someone means many things. And that can be different ways depending on what that person expresses or communicates with you. Like, this is what support would look like for them, right? But one thing that's definitely not being supportive is the idea of blind trust. Like, blindly trusting someone who hasn't earned it is setting yourself up for a situation where you're harmed. And, trust is actions matching words, right? You earn that over time. You continue to have experiences. They say they're going to do something and they do it. And then, you kind of lean into, okay, am I giving them the benefit of the doubt? And that benefit of the doubt is choosing to believe someone's explanation or excuse to a situation, even when you have some doubts, because you're trusting them and giving them a chance to prove themselves rather than immediately assuming the worst about them. And it's about, I think it's about choosing to believe this, positive interpretation of a situation when you have uncertainty, or you were hurt, or, you didn't expect them to do, whatever they did. And a lot of times the benefit of the doubt is extended to someone you know really well, who has earned your trust over time. So whatever the situation that, comes about, and you're saying you're giving them the benefit of the doubt because in this particular situation, because this doesn't align with this person I know. This is out of character for them. This is something that I haven't seen up until this point. So since I haven't seen it before, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because they've shown me in all these other ways that I can trust them and that they're honest. And when they say, hey, I messed up, I'm going to do better, and I did not mean that, even though it feels like it was intentional, if it feels like it was actual harm, you can sit there and go, okay, I'm going to let this slide, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt because you haven't done this before, and this is, I think we can move forward in a positive way, right? But just giving someone the benefit of the doubt because you want to be nice, which we'll talk about, but not everyone deserves the benefit of the doubt.
Agree, especially when you've said it several times. When someone shows you who they are, believe them.
Right.
I think when it's a romantic relationship, it's a little bit trickier, right? Because it's something where you're trying to understand another person's values, who they are. You may not have been in a specific situation with them before, and so you're sort of learning as you go. And so I think you have to give a little benefit of the doubt in certain situations. But when it becomes a pattern, when you see it come out in other ways, then you have to start to question whether this person is the person that you really know, or are they just telling you their version of the story and then you believe them.
Right. And it's also like, you're not just giving them the benefit of the doubt and then, forgetting this ever happened. You still note it because, the patterns matter. So if you're tracking this pattern of behavior, if that pattern never comes up again, if they don't do that again, you might forget that happened. And then if it comes up again, you will immediately remember if you actually take it in. It's not you're holding something against someone. They're showing up in this way again.
And in your family situation, someone outside of your family is given the benefit of the doubt over and over when there is that repeated pattern of immoral activity, aggressiveness, essentially
disregard for human life.
violent actions, yet because you called it out,
And I'm the scapegoat.
you're the scapegoat. So it became you're being nosy, and that other person was given the benefit of the doubt
Right.
by your family.
Right.
And so it became less about the person in that personal relationship, in that romantic relationship, giving the benefit of the doubt, which I keep tripping over that phrase, but it became less about that because that makes a little more sense. There's, love bombing. There's a lot of things happening behind the scenes that we don't see in manipulation and isolation. But when it happened you went to the people who are supposed to protect their children and older siblings who are supposed to protect the younger siblings. It just became Angie's being nosy. She's overstepping. And this person's probably fine. This person will grow up. Everybody's immature.
At 40.
Right. So
yeah.
benefit of the doubt repeatedly given to this person because you are the scapegoat.
Yeah. Right. So no one else can be the problem but me.
Right.
And this is how family scapegoats are conditioned to doubt their reality. So we're constantly being labeled that problem, and all that the narcissist wants is to project that you are the problem onto you. And the toxic family conditions you to doubt intentions of others outside the family. So one thing that was always said to me is, do you think they're really your friends? I think they brought that up in the episode with Val, but they want you to believe that the outside world, outside the home that isn't safe, is also not safe. And everyone is out to get me. So in turn, they're the safe ones. Because everyone out there is not your friend. You think they're your friend, they're using you. We're safe here while we're harming you. It's disgusting, and it's confusing, and it's harmful. And breaking the cycle of believing this manipulation and learning to trust actions over words is a process. So this is part of your own self-reflection, unfortunately, because they won't self-reflect. So you have to say, do their words match their actions? Do their words even make any sense? Where are these words coming from? Because a lot of the stuff that was said against me was completely made up. So they expect me to jump into this defensive mode and have an excuse for things that were completely made up. So when I say, I have no idea where that came from, I never said that. I never did that, whatever. It's hard to process and go, okay, I don't need to defend myself because I didn't do those things. And, what?
Yeah, it's so disorienting.
Yeah. And when you're always taught that you need to defend yourself or you need to earn any love or, your experience isn't valid unless you have, a stack of proof. And this thing, they think you need a stack of proof. When you have a stack of proof, the proof doesn't matter. But anyway, you really have to, in order to break this cycle, you need to wake up and see the truth and believe your gut. Listen to your body, the way your body responds to these people. And you must assess their behavior. So you believe the patterns, like we talked about, and not their words. Like, is this a one-time thing? You know if this is a one-time thing. Or does this happen every time you share your feelings? You get attacked. Or they make you feel like you're too much or you're selfish for sharing your want for a connection with this person. Or you try to hold them accountable or tell them, you did this thing and it hurt my feelings, and they attack you. Does that always happen? Or is it just this one time where they're like, no, that's not what I meant? And then another example, you tell them you're leaving. So they love bomb you and promise to do better. Do they ever get better? Or do you just run into this cycle? If they're apologetic and they buy you flowers and they say, I'll never do that again. I feel really bad and I'm just trying to do anything I can to let you know I'm here and I'm going to change and I'm going to do the work. For me, I just forget the flowers, just actions. Just show me your actions. Just show up, and do what you said you're going to do, right? Like, that's important. But I know that honest people who make mistakes will do those things, but there's a difference. When you bought flowers and said you'll never do it again and you mean so much to me, and then it happens again, or it happens worse, or it happens in a slightly different way, but it's the same frame of mind. It's the same, manipulation. It's the same abuse. It's just tweaked a little to see if you'll tolerate that, right?
Right.
You pay attention to that.
But it's hard to get out of that cycle when when toxicity is your comfort zone.
Yeah. And that's why you have to actually pause and self-reflect and begin your healing, because when you do that, you stop seeing the good in people, but the truth in them. And like you already said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
I didn't read
It's
ahead,
Maya Angelou.
so
I say it all the time because it's so important. All right. We're going to move on to the next one. I love this one. Niceness versus kindness. So society tells us to be nice, but that's often code for being compliant. Especially as a female, we're told in our patriarchal society that we are nice when we people please. When we act as if we have no needs or wants, we go along with what others say and we don't make a fuss. Then you're nice. But being nice is surface level, like looks. Being kind is depth. Being people pleasing and feeling like I'm being nice, that reflects a low self-worth. Whereas being kind reflects self-worth, like legitimate self-worth. And true kindness includes honesty and accountability. So telling people the truth, even when it's hard to hear, that's actually kind. Even when people don't want to hear it or, aren't ready to live in reality, it's still being kind to tell them the truth. They deserve the truth so they can make choices based on the truth. And holding people accountable when they're mistreating you is kind, even though, the narcissist, the emotionally immature person, the abuser will treat it as an attack because they don't self-reflect and examine how their actions impact anyone else. So honesty involves sharing that truth to inform and improve a situation. And it's delivered with respect, and it's supposed to build trust. That's why you're doing it. And taking accountability for your actions when you do something, or you did something that, maybe you're not proud of, or it was just a mistake. You own it, and you try to do better and be different next time and show up in a way that aligns with who you want to be. The inability to take accountability results in behaviors like denying that it even happened, or denying someone else's reality, justifying and giving excuses, and acting like, abuses from an abuser were in retaliation to something. No, an abuser abuses because they abuse. You asking a question, or you talking back, or you saying no does not justify any abuse. And since you find it hard to continue a conversation because it's completely derailed, and they'll deflect, point out something you did to totally throw you off, it's so hard to have this conversation and have it actually be honest and heartfelt like you intended with someone who continually responds this way. And a lot of times, because they refuse to be held accountable, they just abandon you and walk away, or, refuse to acknowledge you or reach out and give you the silent treatment because they expect you to cave and feel like you did something wrong. They want you to feel guilty. And that's why the silent treatment is abusive. So another way ADHDers can struggle with reading social cues and this pressure to people please, or if you come from trauma, a lot of times you try to people please because you've been othered. And you've been othered so often that it just becomes exhausting. So sometimes in these moments where we might make a decision and end up people pleasing because, and we're not standing in, we're not standing in our authenticity in that moment. It's because we're starved for connection. And that's why, people can sometimes say, oh, the ADHDer is putting on a mask, or they're being fake, or they're not being honest. But you're really in that state of just being so exhausted from constantly trying to have a connection that is being denied by these toxic people. So what does respect look like? That's the last part here. And ADHD scapegoats experience, not having their feelings validated. They have no needs. Their truth is a lie. And so when it comes to dealing with an abusive person, your feelings don't exist, and your needs, you're a burden. Or your truth is exposing their lies. So they don't respect you. They just completely shut you down, abandon you, just move on. And respect is actually a two-way street. I know they don't realize that, but it actually is. And this is where the narcissistic double standard, it becomes so clear once you understand it. So for example, if they're angry with you, you're supposed to just sit there and take them yelling at you for hours on end, or however long they want to rant, and answer all the questions asked and give proof as your defense, but they refuse to answer a simple question. Like literally, a simple question. What do you mean by that? Can't answer it. And so they play the victim when you ask them a question, or ask them why they did something, and they'll get into an argument with you and try to make you defend your question, or then they'll triangulate you and say, oh, this person thinks that about you, and I'm not the only one. So try to make you feel like you're wrong. Another example is when you bring up valid concerns, they respond like you're attacking their character. When they tell you how to live your life because they know you better than you know yourself, you need to listen to them or you're stupid. That's it. And there's a million examples of this that I could give. But, you know what I mean? Like, it's a two-way street. Like, they expect you to respect them without having earned your trust, without them actually being honest to gain trust. Like, that's what, if you want someone to trust you, you need to be honest. And so what you need to do is learn how to set boundaries with those who dismiss your truth. So telling me that I shouldn't feel this way isn't going to change the way I feel. Or, just simply saying, no, I'm not doing that. Or, not responding and saying because a lot of times not a lot of times, boundaries with a narcissist don't work because they see it as a challenge, or at least some sort of knowledge to use against you later. So your boundary with a narcissist is removing their access to you, period. But just saying no is a surefire way to figure out if this person is abusive, toxic, a narcissist, harmful. Because saying no will really show who they are. You just need to take that first step to say no. So closing thoughts. Own your honesty as a strength. It is not a flaw. The only people who are afraid of the truth are people that are lying. Use these strategies that we shared to communicate your truth without feeling guilty or silenced, and listen to your gut. Protect your energy. Till next time.